Hello again. Before I begin, I would just like to give a little bit of a shout out to another channel. Jason from Nebucloud, hopefully I'm saying that right. Um, his channel is quite new, only been around the last 6 or so months. Another EDC channel, but Jason has a really interesting approach to knives where he's trying to come off as friendly as he possibly can. Obviously, he's a very friendly individual, but Jason seems to have the same issue as me where most people seem to be afraid of knives. So he's trying to present it in the friendliest way he possibly can. And I think he's done a great job of that. His videos are short to the point. They're really high quality videos, way better production than mine. Well put together, and Jason just seems like an all round really nice, friendly character. I've been talking to him quite a bit on Instagram, so I thought, yeah, I'll give him a bit of a shout out. So if you're interested, go and check his channel out. Anyway, on to the video. This time we're looking at the Queen Barlow, if I remember correctly. This one, there's a bit of a funny story behind this. This just came on Heine Haynes' website just this week. I bought it pretty much as soon as it came onto the website because it got a little mixed up. This is a Queen, and from what I remember from seeing years ago, knives made by Queen were, well, similar priced to the case knives. So you'd maybe pay about 80, 90, you know, 100 and something pound for those knives. So when I saw this knife on Heine for £20, I thought, I reckon Heine probably meant to list that for £120. So if I can get a £120 knife for £20 before they change the price, that would be pretty good. So I ordered it. I mean, I like the look of it anyway, and I don't have a Barlow in my collection. So I'm not too disappointed to find out that it was the correct price, because they have another couple of knives by Queen at that price. Now, I think the reason for this massive difference in price is, if I remember correctly, I think Queen shut down. I might be wrong about that, but I think I did see something about that a year or two ago, that sort of the US production was no longer continued. So I'm guessing that, well, there's no guessing about it, they're now made overseas in China, which is quite unfortunate. More and more things have been made in China, and I'm not really a fan of that. I don't have an issue with the Chinese people at all. It's just I don't like the fact that everything's made in China. Some things, fine, okay. I just don't want everything to be made in China. So I do try to buy Western products when I can, and even better if I could buy things made in the UK. I'm glad to say, actually, I've noticed there's a lot more products in general made in the UK, and even made in Scotland, so that's what I'm sort of trying to do. But the Chinese really do make a great product. It doesn't matter how much I want to tell myself otherwise, they're really high quality. And I mean, this one here might not be the highest of high quality, but I think for the money, I think it's hard to argue. So enough of me blabbering on, let's actually have a look at this thing. I mean, first look, do you see any issues with that? Sorry, let me just get that to focus, because I sure don't. Now, please excuse me, because I really know nothing about Queen. I've never really bothered to research them, and I've probably even got the name of this knife wrong, but I should have the correct name in the title. It's just I've not felt like making a video in a while, and I kind of thought, well, I'll just make a video now. So I just grabbed the nearest knife that I haven't made a video of yet, and sort of stuck my phone on, if you like. But let's just have an initial look around the knife, and can you really see any problems with that? Because I sure can't. For 20 quid, there's absolutely nothing to complain about. Indeed, there's a few imperfections. If we have a close look here, I could do with something to point with, actually. This will do. I'll use the Arthur Wright's sheep's foot as a pointing stick. just to show you what imperfections it does have. So if we have a look round about here, you can see it's not absolutely perfect. There's something going on in the corner there with the metal. There as well, there's a slight bit of a gap between the metal and the bone handle there. Who cares? It's near perfect, and again you can see that's not ground absolutely perfectly, but what is nowadays, I mean, even like this is higher quality than some case knives, if you could believe that. Anyway, so as I said, it is a Barlow, and my understanding of a Barlow is it just has this extended bolster to give it additional strength. We also have the two threads here, which is a nice bit of detail. I believe this is bone of what animal, I'm not sure. Saw cut bone, so you do see saw marks. Now, I just want to say something about that. I sometimes wonder to myself, how do they actually make those saw marks? Now, the logical conclusion would be, well, they use a saw to make a saw mark. That's not the case though. If you notice that these saw marks are curved, okay, that would suggest that it was cut with some sort of circular saw, opposed to something like a bandsaw or some form of handsaw. And it would be entirely possible that this was cut on a table saw, only that's curved. So obviously the table saw blade is spinning in one direction. It can't actually curve. I mean, obviously the blade itself is a circle, but there's no way a table saw blade can cut a circumference like that, if you know what I mean. So I'm guessing they've added that detail with some sort of milling machine after the scales there have been cut. Can you see what I mean by it's kind of round? So I'm trying to think of a way to explain this to someone that's maybe never used a table saw before, because that's what I imagine this is supposed to mimic, the scoring off a table saw blade. In fact, if you look at some pieces of furniture or even your garden fence, you might see sort of quarter circles. That's from a table saw, but obviously that piece of wood is perfectly square. This obviously isn't. It's just one of those things that I wanted to mention. I mean, I'm a woodworker. I'm playing with my table saw all the time. I mean, I don't actually play with it. That's just my terminology. I'm standing behind my table saw a lot, and to make such a cut like that on a table saw would be incredibly dangerous. I don't think it'd even be possible. I guess they don't care too much about that in China. But anyway, the colouring on that bone is quite nice, especially on this side. I think this looks far more aesthetically pleasing. You've got far more range of colours. You've got, I wouldn't say you've got more marks, but it just looks much more interesting. Usually with knives, in my opinion, you have the display side and the non-display side, if you like. So some knives look really nice on one side, not so interesting on the other side. This is usually only applicable, in my mind anyway, to knives like this. Modern knives like this, not so much. You see it's the same on both sides. So I suppose with something like this case, for example, with the shield being on this side normally, and the logos normally, for me that would be the display side. Or if you have something with, say, curly birch, and I say that because I do have a couple of knives with curly birch, one side is usually a lot nicer than the other side, so the nicest side is the side you want to display. The reason I went and said all that is because this having the logo, and I think this side where the nail nick is kind of might be a bit of a factor. You can see the logos are on this side. I don't find this side to be quite as nice. Keeping in mind, as I said, it is a £20 knife, and it would definitely be a great work knife or a great display knife. I think it would fit both roles absolutely perfectly. For me, I'm a knife collector, so I don't really carry most of my knives. In fact, I've mostly been carrying my SOG Terminus as of recent, and when I'm not carrying the SOG Terminus, I'm carrying my Arthur Wright's sheep's foot. This is just sort of went on my shelf immediately after I got it. But I mean, as you can see, it is pretty well put together. We do have two blades which do have their own spring, and it is separated by a brass liner. So I suppose we'll look at the small pen blade to begin with, which it's absolutely fine. In fact, it is quite similar to the pen blade on that case. I wasn't actually going to... This is how I display my case knife while it's sitting on the shelf, and I wanted to keep it in this configuration just so I could put it straight back, but okay, never mind. I'll just open it up and just show you the differences side by side. And if you have a look there, they actually look pretty similar. Keeping in mind there's a massive price difference between these two knives of about £60, £66, something like that. No, 70. To be honest with you, I can't count very well. I think it's about 70. I paid about £90 for this knife, £20 for this knife. Is there really a huge difference that you could see in terms of quality? I would say no, and if you notice, those blades are very similar. In fact, and by the way, I've already done, I think I have, I might be wrong, I think I've done a video on this case knife already. I've also posted it to my Instagram. I'll probably post this to Instagram as well. You can see there, that wasn't me. I haven't used this knife, I haven't sharpened this knife. This is how it came to me from Heine Haynes. Obviously it's not Heine Haynes' fault, it's Casey's fault. £90, £20. I'm sorry, but this is nicer than the case knife. Made in the USA, made in China. And there's more detail on this knife as well. So anyway, you'll notice here we've got the Queen logo, which I don't know if that's an old logo or the original logo, or a new logo or what, because like I said, I'm not very familiar with Queen. This is my very first one, and it's a Chinese made model. But we do have Queen there on the tang. We've got a nice size kick there to keep the blade from wrapping against the spine. Sharpness, well, if I remember correctly, it did shave arm hair. It does feel nice and sharp. We've got a match struck nail neck, which it's funny because it's the very first time I opened it, the very first few times I opened it, it was easy. Since then it's been a little bit uncomfortable to open. And we do have a bit of a swedge there, or a false edge, which is a detail I normally do like on my knives. It'll just pierce a lot easier. I like that swedge, that kick there as well, because it kind of helps to protect your fingers if the knife was to somehow close. If we close that up, oh yeah, I forgot, half stop. Right, yeah, so we do have a half stop as well, and the walk and talk on that, I think, is excellent. I know some people like to give it a number from 1 to 10, I think 1 being the weakest and 10 being the strongest, and I think you want to have it about a 5 or a 6. I would say that it's about there. I'm just going to call it a 6. Obviously that's not scientific or anything, it isn't exact, it's not perfect, but you know, that scale will do. And moving on to the main blade, again the half stop with the wonderful walk and talk that it has. We have a very nice clip point blade. Now I've said I like clip point blades a lot, and I'm a big fan of this clip point. I'm not sure what style of clip point it is. Nonetheless, I quite like it. It does feel very traditional. It's got a hollow grind. I forgot to mention both blades are actually hollow ground. But yeah, hollow ground. Again, we've got that kick there to sort of protect the blade, and it can be used to protect your finger. The Queen logo, and unfortunately the dreaded China mark, as well as QN012. I'm guessing that's number 12 as in the 12th pattern or something. I'm not sure, I'm just guessing here. Again with the match strike nail neck, and we have that swedge or false edge again. Now you might have noticed a few times if you look carefully, or maybe not so much in the clip point, but certainly on the spear point, there was some bars. Now in fact, I've just noticed there as well, we do have a bit of a mirror polish. It came like that. I have not touched this knife. I haven't even stropped it. It's not been anywhere near any of my sharpening stones. That's how it came. And as I said, I'm pretty sure it came shaven sharp. Let's see. Well, close enough anyway. I mean, it definitely is, so there you go. Definitely is cut an arm hair. Again, 20 quid. That is well, the Chinese really have stepped up their game in the last few years, I have to say that. I mean, compare that to this. Look at the edge. In fact, I'll open up the main blade on this case. And I'm not picking on case. It's just, I think a lot of us want manufacturing and production to return to the West. But little problems like this really don't help. Look, if you've got to increase the price of the knife to I mean, I don't know what to say. Overall, the quality of, I mean, it's not a video on this, but overall the quality on this is great. It's just, it sharpens so poorly. I don't know what more to say. But yeah, we'll just put the two together. Now, I know you can see that China mark there, but let's assume you didn't, and I just turned on the video like this. Again, you've not noticed the China mark. You don't know what these knives are. You didn't know this is a Chinese knife and an American knife side by side. Would you be able to tell the difference? If I posted this to Instagram with no comment, would you know the difference? Let me just get rid of the smudging on that. That doesn't help, does it? That's a bit better. Can you tell the difference in price just by that? I'm sorry, but I might struggle myself. Anyway, let's see what sort of time we're on here. 17 minutes, that's a lot longer than I thought. I suppose I better wrap it up. I'll just do some really quick comparisons, and then I think I'll let you get on with your day. I'll just put the... Oh, yeah, I think I need to clean this. I've been using this to cut my apples, and I've just sort of not been wiping the blade just to let it get a bit of a patina. I think it could do with a bit of a wipe down. Almost certainly, actually, but I've really been using this knife recently. Yeah, so in fact, if we just have a look there, this is another 20 quid knife. This one is made in the UK, and really poor finish. In comparison, 20 quid in the UK, 20 quid China. I'm just saying. I'll also compare it to a modern knife, so Terminus. A 91mm Swiss Army knife, the Victorinox Ranger. You know how much I love Victorinox. Just for size, by the way, the main blade on this is about 2 or 2.5 inches. I haven't measured it exactly. I don't feel like it's really productive to do that, so I just don't bother. A Zippo, just because. So you can see actually it is quite a small knife. In fact, there it is in my hand. So if this is something that you wanted to carry without scaring anyone, sorry, if you did want a knife that you didn't want to scare anyone with, this might be a good candidate. As always, I always do recommend, if scaring people is an issue, or you're in an environment where there's a lot of people around, I always recommend the Swiss Army knife. You can see it's a bit smaller than a Swiss Army knife. The blade's shorter. This is one of those knives though, where if you need to use it in a public place, you don't want the public knowing you have a knife, because that could cause upset, and you don't really want someone who doesn't understand knives to phone the police and explain there's someone in a public place with a knife. So this is one of those knives where you could actually use it in a public place, but hide it so it's not obvious what you're doing. I've actually got an example of that. I've done that just today. Although I use my Boker Plus XS for that, but it's roughly the size of the Sub Terminus. What I was doing, I was at the beach looking for driftwood, just to take it home and put it on my lathe. And something's going to fall. I was looking for driftwood to bring it home and put it on my lathe. And what I was doing was I was using the Bokeh Plus XS to sort of pierce the wood to see how spongy it was. I was testing how rotten it was. Obviously, if the knife slides in with ease, the wood is kind of rotten. If it doesn't, it's probably good wood. So there are such, and of course, because it was the beach, there was a lot of people around, so I didn't want to scare anyone. And the Bokeh Plus XS is probably one of the bigger knives that we are permitted to carry, allowed to carry, whatever the word is. So yeah, so something like this would actually be more suited to that. And I'll just do one more thing for comparison, and that is going to be a Glock 18, just because I feel like it. Anyway, I think I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found that interesting. Do let me know your thoughts. As always, definitely go and check Jason's channel out. And yeah, I'll see you soon. See you later.